Welcome to Mindly Way, where we explore life philosophies to grow and find the right path. Get ready to listen for an inner journey. I'm talking about a certain type of encounter, a state of consciousness that appears to be as common in humans as the measles. It's something that just happens and we don't know why, despite the fact that there are many different methods that claim to be able to promote it and are occasionally more successful than less. There is this strange thing that happens to people that has been documented going back as far as we have any records at all, and that is coming over people with the oddly persuasive feeling, the common sense of individuality and personal identity are transcended in, and the person experiences an experience that, in fact, could be explained from a variety of quite different angles. But we could add up these dominant characteristics that, in place of the typical feeling that I, as an individual, confront a world that is foreign to me and that is not me in this kind of experience, I find myself to be of one and the same nature or identity as the world outside me. In other words, I suddenly feel like I'm no longer a stranger in the world, but rather as though the outside world were my own body. The second aspect of the feeling is even harder to reconcile with our everyday practical intelligence, but it is a very overwhelming sense that everything that occurs, everything I have ever done, and everyone else has ever done, is part of our harmon. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Now, notice that I'm not talking about a philosophy. I'm not talking about a rationalization or some kind of theory that someone invented to explain the world and make it seem like a bearable place to live in. Instead, I'm talking about a rather wacky, unpredictable experience that strikes people out of the blue, and it includes this element of feeling the total harmoniousness of everything. Now, I realize that those words can conjure up images of sentimentality and Pollyanna. A lot of the religions that are practiced in our society today aim to instill in people the idea that everything is a harmonious unity. Things like Christian Science or the Unity movement, and so forth, aim to make a kind of propaganda, considering that it's an attempt to make the tail wag the dog sound authentic. That strikes me as a sort of pseudo-mysticism. To make the cause and effect happen because this feeling that everything is harmonious was somehow never brought about by telling yourself that it is. For example, if you tell yourself that everything is beautiful, that everything is God, that everything is light, etc., you're actually implying that it isn't true because you wouldn't be saying all that if it were. Therefore, this sensation of a kind of universal harmony, cannot come to us when we look for it as something to be an escape from the way we actually feel, the people to whom this kind of thing has occurred. And as previously stated, it reminds us of the measles. It can seem to us that someone to whom this kind of thing has happened is unable to control himself and must stand up in order to inform everyone about it. Unfortunately, he ends up founding a religion because people observe him and comment on how happy he is, how certain he is of himself, how certain he seems to be in everything he does. That's a wonderful quality in a great human being. He's like an animal or a flower. When a flower buds and the bud goes pop and opens, it has no hesitation or doubts about it. When a chicken's egg breaks, there is no doubt about it at all coming forth. Similarly, when someone has an experience of this kind, he need only to share it with others, because he observes everyone around him to be incredibly serious, as though they were struggling with life and finding it extremely difficult. But from the perspective of the person who has gone through this, he feels that they appear funny, as though they are unaware that there is no problem at all, that the meaning of life is simply to be alive, and it's so clear, so obvious, and so simple. Therefore, to the person in the state of consciousness, which I refer to as mystical, everything appears very strange and absurd. And yet, here they are, running around in a great panic, as if it were necessary for them to achieve something beyond all that. The funny thing is, they're not quite sure what it is, but they are devilishly intent upon it after that thing.